The 80-20 Rule by Richard Koch. Secret of Getting More with Less. Let's go over the 6 of the major aspects Richard Koch focuses in his popular book. Time management. What's the secret of getting more with less? GQ called the 80-20 Principle, 1997, one of the top 25 business books of the 20th century. The 80-20 Principle states that 20% of work yields 80% of results. This phenomenon helps identify the most crucial components in each scenario, affecting all aspects of life. This is called the Pareto Principle. In the end, only the results matter. Richard Koch's 80-20 sold over a million copies. This book is to be used, not read. The main gist of the book is achieve more with less. Richard Koch wrote 18 books, including The Power Laws, Living the 80-20 Way, and Super Connect. He successfully implements 80-20 to his life. So, how does it benefit you? Be efficient with your time. How does the 80-20 principle work? In today's hurried environment, many of us have impossible daily to-do lists. We may arrive at work determined to do the first task fast, only to find 2 new ones. Just like circus clowns, companies need to cater to multiple markets with an endless array of products. Knowing what's important is crucial in this hectic atmosphere. Let's check the to-do lists. Usually, a modest amount of work produces most of the results. Thus, understanding the 80-20 principle, deceptively simple but powerful, is vital. Improving your work efficiency will address the apparent disparity between labor and reward that seems to exist universally. Finally, you can use the approach to improve your personal connections and happiness. Simply embrace the 80-20 approach, and this video will teach you how. To succeed, always get to the core task. How? Use the KISS principle. And ruthlessly removing all non-priority items. Let's agree that the 80-20 rule is a simple but a very powerful rule. Have you ever completed most of a project shortly before the deadline? Maybe you accomplished more in the few days you had left than in all the weeks combined. Similar effort-reward mismatches occur in many circumstances. Many businesses find that 20% of their product line generates 80% of their income. Similarly, 20% of drivers cause 80% of accidents. The majority of drivers are conscientious, while a small minority causes most accidents. The 80-20 principle states that we're striving with 20% of work effort to produce 80% of the outcome. Missed deadline? Is unbalance natural? The 80-20 principle is found in many situations, and it is valuable to know about it. People struggle with the 80-20 rule because they seek balance and fairness. People expect a balanced world. So, it seems unbalance is the natural state of the world. Well, balancing act was never easy. What did Isaac Pitman discover? Simple. Work and reward. Reward work, not wealth. Sir Isaac Pitman discovered that 700 common words account for 2/3 of daily communication. Including their derivatives, less than 1% of English words make up over 80% of what we speak. These disparities are inevitable, but many find them unfair. Social injustice occurs when 20% of the population holds 80% of the wealth. People feel work and reward should be equal in importance, hence this apparent injustice. The 80-20 principle shows that not all work pays off. How does the 80-20 rule improve work approach? The 80-20 concept helps improve your work approach for better results. This sounds excellent, but how does the 80-20 principle apply to your life? Your current work style is certainly inefficient, so let's start there. Imagine if you could replace this useless time with the productive 20% and multiply your work outcomes. Imagine if you could maintain your last-minute efficiency as a project deadline approaches throughout the project. That will certainly set the wheels rolling. That's where we are starting from because your current work style is certainly inefficient. Consider that if you get 80% of the results with 20% of the effort, your work is egregiously inefficient. Focus, focus, focus. What's the creative application of the 80-20 principle? Creative application of the 80-20 principle can boost efficiency by diverting attention from chores that have little impact on results. Start by analyzing your work procedures to identify inefficiencies. In the early stages of a project, you may squander hours overthinking and mulling over every possible error. You can try to avoid thinking about failures once you realize this. And remember this, chores have little impact on results. Now, to the 80-20 profits. Identifying and reorganizing your process to prevent these issues can boost efficiency. Do you know how to use the 80-20 principle for your own productivity? How can you use it for a business? Business profitability can be increased with 80-20. Efficient leads to effective results. You want to join this club? Why should you use it? For optimization. Optimizing your business's product line is one approach to do this, but there are others. You must first determine which product groups make the most money. Think about it. Even your pet knows this. Now let's focus on the profit/sales aspect. Which of your products make the most money? Simply rank all your products by profit and sales, and you will likely find that the top products make 80% of the profit but only 20% of the sales. The author studied an electronics company and discovered that the top 3 goods made up 19.9% of sales but 52.6% of earnings. That experience helped him. Prioritization. It cannot be stressed enough. After determining your company's 80-20 split, leverage and maximize the profitable 20%. Make these products your priority and work on selling more. Let's do a to-do again. Simplify, simplify, simplify. Ignore everything that's non-priority. Do you find any unnecessary parts in an IC board? The author told salespeople at the electronics company to focus on doubling sales of their top 3 goods and ignore everything else. To succeed, simplify your business. Everyone understands huge firms are complicated. The world wouldn't be so complicated if everyone followed this principle. Complexity is always complicated. To avoid complexity, focus on prioritization. So, managers must be proficient at handling complexity, and they often like the challenge and intellectual stimulation. Most people feel that a firm with a large product variety would make more money since it sells more things. However, internal complexity has tremendous hidden costs. A wide range of items takes more logistical, sales training, and administrative effort than a restricted range. Of course, large product variety is not more money. Now, to the variables. Focus, narrow your product line. Focusing on a narrower product line reduces company costs. Narrower product lines allow everyone to focus on a few key products. Focused attention leads to better understanding of key products. This streamlines administrative labor and delivers economies of scale to production and logistics. Think about it. Simplest is the bestest. This about why the simplest were the most successful. A survey of 39 medium-sized enterprises indicated that the simplest were the most successful. Profits increased as they sold fewer products to fewer consumers and suppliers. By simplifying your firm, you may cut costs and boost profits. Your organization can use the 80-20 rule for anything from negotiations to marketing. So, simple is the best. How do we boost success? Let's take a re-look on the 80-20 approach. Now you know how to use 80-20 to restrict your product line and boost profits. But what about other business areas? Fortunately, the 80-20 approach may be applied to almost any business activity to boost success. The 80-20 approach can also be applied to marketing targeting. If 20% of your consumers generate 80% of your revenue, identify and persuade them to keep buying. How do we do it? By retaining top customers. Refocus on the 20% after identifying customers. Provide exceptional service to retain them. Focus on this 20% when creating new products or services. Retaining these customers will increase your market share. Customer is always right. By catering to the top customers' demands. Let's apply the rule. Where? In daily life. Apply the 80-20 concept to your daily life by thinking differently. But this type of analysis is tough in daily life. Thus, 80-20 thinking is required. Conventional thinking is linear and values all causes and inputs equally. We learn as children that all our friends are precious. In this case, 80-20 thinking would recognize that not all relationships are equal. Some friends and their relationships are more meaningful than others. Have we understood the 80-20 rule now? We must not forget the unequal relationships too. What's the value of the 20%? 20% of your friendships provide 80% of the value, such as joy and camaraderie. You can't quantify the worth of your relationships, but you may ask yourself, who are my most important people? How much quality time do I spend with them weekly? Of course, relationships matter. Once again, focus, focus, focus. On critical activities, this question helps you identify your most essential relationships. According to 80-20th thinking, you should prioritize quality over quantity and deepen the most meaningful 20% of relationships. Without data, 80-20th thinking may be applied to many areas of life. Focus on critical activities instead of time management. First, professionals with busy schedules must prioritize their daily activities. So, don't forget to focus on critical activities. It's time for time revolution. That takes us to time management. Alternatively, 80-20th time management or time revolution helps you find and focus on the 20% of your chores that create 80% of your results. That means we must focus on profitability. Concentrate. The author found that his consulting firm was more successful than others without extra effort. The author's colleagues concentrated on the top 20% of clients' difficulties and used the time they saved to help them implement solutions. This strategy helped them outperform rival consulting businesses and boost client profitability. Keep concentrating on the top 20%. The last part, occupations. Focus here is to prioritize. Prioritize what matters most to improve life quality with the 80-20th approach. Avoid spending time on disliked activities or unpleasant occupations. The final to 80-20th rule, distribution of happiness. Simply said, assess the distribution of happiness and sadness in your life and analyze their origins before making changes. Which 20% of your life brings you 80% of your happiness and vice versa? After identifying the 80% of your life that brings you little satisfaction, cut back on those activities. Study carefully the objectives. Let's redefine now. That means, reducing negativities. You could try to change your employment if it makes you unhappy. You might apply for other jobs, redefine your current one, reduce your hours, etc. You shouldn't settle for a lifelong job that makes you unhappy. If not, you'll be left with unpleasant surprises. After negatives, now the positives. Don't forget to have more time for your family. Once you reduce your negatives, you'll have more time and energy for positives. If you work less, you'll have more time for family and friends. Consider which 20% of your activities provide you with 80% of your satisfaction and strive to spend more time on them. Doing so will make you happier. Smile for your family. Got a simple idea? Most outcomes still come from the 20%. The 80-20 principle states that in most fields, 20% of input or work yields 80% of output or reward. This means that about 80% of efforts are wasted, and focusing on the 20% that produces the most outcomes can greatly improve efficiency. Business, friends, and quality of life can all benefit from this simple idea. Dangerous, but how happy they are. And the poor pet dog too? What you eat always matters.